Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to the Raceface GT3 Pro Series. This is round 3 this evening from Zolder. With me here in the commentary box, I also have Stephen Koenig and Janeman Price as usual. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good to be back. Tonight from Zolder, or lesser known as Circuit Lamen. Stay tuned to watch us butcher some corner names tonight. Over to you, Stephen.
Guten Abend allesamen, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Zolder. And as you said, glad to be back here, especially for round number 3 at this fantastic circuit. And definitely a circuit that can either make or break a race or make or break your car, depending on which curb you decide to hit. And wow, this is honestly one of my Achilles heels of a circuit, because you either can be fast and lose it, or you can be consistent or a little bit slower. So I can't wait for tonight. And as you said, we're going to unfortunately butcher some names. Don't hurt us too much.
Yeah, through that first chicane, or the kleine chicane, I normally go slipping and sliding, and with the wall I am colliding.
There we go. And I think it's also then an opportune moment now for us to quickly have a look at a hot lap that was done by Cody Sherritt for us for this week. Janeman and Stephen, feel free to add some commentary there to the lap for our viewers. Here we go.
Yeah, as I said to Stephen earlier off air, I was watching this lap from Cody, and it's just absolutely amazing how early Cody is on the power through this first section. I mean, I think through here he would have gapped me already, especially the corner coming up. This is just one quick downshift, then he's back on the power through here. Car absolutely planted, and coming up to the first, or as they say, the kleine chicane, one of my favorite parts in the corner. If you come through here, you absolutely need to nail it through here and just commit, and sometimes just hope the car sticks, because with me, more often than not, I end up on that wall on the left side. The next coming up, this is a right, left, right, very technical section, really also need to be committed, and now you can go flat out all the way through up to the hairpin.
And I always feel this section over here, car gets quite loose over that little hump there. Very tricky braking marker into this hairpin. Go for it, Stephen.
It's also a perfect opportunity to go and make or break your lap. Also go and score those valuable positions, as it gets you a short little sprint into the next chicane. If you can break the toe enough, you'll be able to score the position. But watch out, may get someone else slipstreaming you as you head down to the main straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Through that last section there, I've decided to call the last corner Jackie's X box, because it's something of Jackie's Eche box or something like that. One of the passing places, or places where you can pass on the track. Zolder, very tight circuit, but overtaking not impossible there, Steve.
No, that's it. If you just go and put yourself on the inside and just break a fraction earlier, you're able to push the competitors out just a little bit wider, forcing them to just go a little bit more on the brakes and tighten up their actual steering, causing them to lose so much pace, up to 6 kilometers difference between the exit speeds from the inside to the outside line. And also you manage to avoid the dirt. If you're on the outside, prepare to run a little bit wide and get a little bit of a bumpy ride, as we've seen.
And yes. I see we have Daniel Rowe here tonight as a guest driver, I see. He's obviously been quite busy with real world racing in the last couple of weeks and months, so he hasn't been a regular contender in the virtual racing scene this season. But I see he's here as a guest driver this evening, donning the Porsche 911 GT3. That's going to be quite interesting. Quite a strong car on this track, but a very tricky car to drive.
Yeah, it's a car that...
Go ahead, gentlemen.
I think we wanted to say exactly the same thing, Steve. It's a car that can bite you. It is extremely quick. I've raced the Porsche in in Raceface before. It can be quick, but drive it wrong and it can also be not the quickest car out there. I have been privileged to race against Daniel a couple of times, and I know Daniel will not hang back tonight. He'll surely get his teeth out and get them sunk into the other drivers.
Well, Daniel Rowe has got some experience in the Porsche, doing a couple of rounds with it on the previous seasons, and we've seen him do some amazing things and able to rack up some amazing positions. But being out the seat, you can see it has taken a little bit of strain on him as he's battling it out with the likes of Kieran Patterson, Cody Sherritt, Bernard Barkhuizen, who all had a fantastic run. We also got Runner right behind. JW Volschking has also been putting a lot of effort in with his team to set the car up as well. So I don't think it's going to be an easy run for them. But also keep an eye on Morgan Mccall. As we know, that Mercedes loves curbs. Front engines will just go straight over them without an issue, where the mid-engines get a little bit twitchy.
Now, I don't know if you saw just a while back when Daniel hit that first chicane, how unsettled the car got through there. But absolutely, I'm a big fan of the front engine cars. I raced the Mercedes and other series as well, and one of the big strong points of that Merc is just how it can eat up the curbs and sometimes just go over them as if they're not there.
That's definitely going to be a car to watch out for. But guys, we've got a variety of different manufacturers on display. We've got the mighty Merc, we've got the Honda of Sean Stratham that he's driving. We've got the Audi, BMW, Porsche, and also we cannot forget the famous Boatley, the yellow banana, raced by Paul Fenter, Lan in 22nd position. Lots of different manufacturers. Any favorites that's starting to come through?
I don't know. It looks like the Audi is actually quite dominant this season, and I mean, it has always historically also been a strong car on Zolder. But if we look at it tonight, what is that? 5 of them in the top 7 there. So yeah, definitely, I think it looks to me like it's going to be an Audi podium here this evening. Maybe not a locked out podium, but I'm willing to bet we'll see a podium finish there by an Audi this evening.
And Janneman, your thoughts?
Don't throw away Herbie. I see Daniel is sitting there in 2nd position. Not driving the regional Herbie though, but talking about the Porsche. It's a car that's got good rear rotation as well, and that's something you need on this track. Especially with those, chicanes following each other. We've got a total of basically 3 chicanes on this track. So, some of the front engine cars like the BMW, the Merc, they might tend to struggle with a bit of understeer that will tend to make them not as quick on this track.
Now, I'm going to go with my logic, and yes, you can point out every fault to it, but I'm going to point out that the Honda is going to be a big one to keep an eye out for. It's got the rear rotation, it is quick, and we've seen the fuel efficiency of the Honda come into play not only in the Endurance series, but we've seen it come into play in the actual GT3 series. It also seems to be pretty stable with it, but we cannot count out the Aston Martin of Bernard King, who has done extremely well in previous times with the Aston Martin, and this being one of his stronger circuits.
We'll have to remain to be seen, who will come out on top. As I said previously, I tend to favor the front engine cars. It just suits my driving style. But having a look at that hot lap of Sherritt, I mean, that Audi of his seems planted around here. But
it's definitely one of those. It's freakishly planted, if I can put it that way.
Won't know if it will be that planted in my hands, though. I think I will meet a wall or two.
It will, for my side, it will be planted firmly into a wall. That's about that.
Yes, I guess it's also then probably an opportune moment now to give Jordan Sherritt and his team a free plug here on the stream, the Speed Labs crowd, and their custom setups that are available to purchase. Seems to be working for Cody. Maybe some of us need to go and try out those setups.
I still won't make a difference. You know, it's a lack of talent. That's my issue.
Yeah, I have to agree on that side. It doesn't matter what sort of setup you can put in my hands. It's going to end one way, unfortunately, and it's not very pretty at the end. But guys, as we head into the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the qualifying, Daniel Rowe up into first place with a 1 minute 27.2. Cody Sherritt in second place. Bernard Barkhuizen in third. Van der Merwe in fourth. Kieran Patterson in fifth place. Sean Stratham in sixth. Runner in seventh. Eighth place is Ryan Ottens. Minnar in ninth. And JW Volsking once again in that top 10 for qualifying.
All the usual suspects there in the top 10. This championships is pretty close between those guys that are sitting in the top 10 there. So I think, this track generally, not good for overtaking, but it does produce some good races. It's honestly been one of my favorite tracks always. I've always had some really good races at Zolder, so I'm looking forward to this evening, and hopefully we'll see some really good door-to-door racing happening here.
Yeah, totally agree. I've also had one of my best races on ACC at Zolder. I think it's the chicanes and the pure, call it the tightness of the track that makes it so interesting to race on. And the other thing that we need to watch out for as they come up to this last chicane, that in front of you is the pit entry. And if you go into the pits, you tend to brake a lot later than what you would going into the last corner, and that has caused some one or two, hairy moments in the past.
And as we're watching Johan Grobler here, Bago, we hope he doesn't make the same mistake as he did last week when, on pit exit there, he sped in the pits and bought himself a little stop-go penalty there, which cost him quite a few positions on the very last lap of the race practice.
Scoring the Noddy Badge Award. Alright guys, well, since we're talking about putting in the fastest lap time, I'm taking a look. Now, Daniel Rowe's done a 127.2 as his fastest lap time. 127.272. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, without reaching for your phones, Janneman, put your phone down. Put your computer down. Okay, what is the fastest GT3 lap time around the circuit?
I would guess a 128 probably.
Yeah, that's also what I want to say, a 128 something.
Alright, this was done by Nico Muller in 2021 Zolder format, which is what we're racing around now, in a DTM round in an Audi R8 LMS Evo. He did a 127.257.
Wow.
Take a look how close, and that is the record for a GT3 car, and take a look how close Daniel Rowe is to that time of a record around the circuit. I mean, that if that doesn't tell you the caliber that we've got here racing in Raceface, I don't know what does.
Stephen, not just
go for it, gentlemen.
Sorry, not just the caliber. It also shows you how realistic this sim is compared to the real world.
Exactly, and it might not be an Audi, but Daniel Rowe scoring that pole position in the Porsche. Second is Cody Sherritt, followed by Bernard Barkhuizen, Van der Merwe in fourth place, Kieran Patterson in fifth, Minnar in sixth, seventh place is Sean Stratham in the Honda. Then we got eighth place is Runner with the Audi R8 LMS Evo, just a little bit further down. Ninth place Ryan Ottens, right up there and really doing well, and JW Volsking. So I wonder, will Ottens and Volsking work together once again?
And as we look at the the timetables there, what I've again just wanted to kind of highlight is less than a second splits the top 15 guys on the grid yet. Less than a second splitting the top 15. That is how close the racing is in this particular league.
I've just the thought of that, it gets my hair standing on end, goosebumps all over. Less than a second of having the fastest of the fast in a race all together, bunched together. is just so exciting. It's got, I don't know how to explain it, ladies and gentlemen. They've got 2 mandatory stops they have to do. All right, this is strategy, but the speed, the intensity, and going into turn 1 where you've got to be careful, otherwise you're going to land up not only with you in the dirt, but your competitors in the dirt very, very quickly. These guys they're going to give it everything they got and lay everything out on the line. Nothing's going to be held back. And gentlemen, I mean, big field like this, going into turn 1, what's your thoughts?
Survive. That's honestly, in a big field like this, I always just try to survive the first couple of laps. The first couple of laps is not about making up positions for me. It's purely just staying out of trouble and let the race just settle down a bit before you actually start racing. I mean, this is by no means a sprint race. I mean, it's over an hour long. There's pit stops. There's strategy involved, as you said. So, yet again, first couple of laps, all about survival for me. And I know there's a lot of guys that don't treat it that way. They will pounce at every opportunity they get. And, last week, I wouldn't say Sherrod had an easy race, but he had a good winning margin. Tonight, with Daniel Rowe on the grid, I think, it might hopefully remind us of that first race where it was so close.
Yeah, and what I'm impressed with this evening is 37 cars on this grid. That is a huge amount of cars for this track. I mean, it's a fairly short track. I mean, 1 minute 27 seconds lap time there. 37 cars around here. I think it's going to get very, very interesting to see.
But just to mention to everyone out there, we've got quite a few cars here on the grid, but we haven't just got here in our Pro. We've got our Pro-Am, we've got our Amp, we've got our Silver, all filled to the brim with amazing drivers, all looking to duke it out. All with fields this size, which is even more mind-blowing. If you think about it, as a race series, it is definitely one that keeps coming back. It keeps showing that the drivers love it. The drivers love the format. And you got to take hats off to, all the guys in the background making this possible. Honestly, it's not an easy thing to do, as we know.
Definitely.
And I see track temperature now, 29 degrees Celsius. So pretty warm track, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll probably be going into a little bit of the dark here towards the end of the race. What do you guys think? What time is it sunset here? Is it 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night? So possibly it will just be late afternoon, dusk type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that the guys will have to contend with then being in late afternoon is that track temperature will start dropping. So they will, if they don't have anybody on the other side of the radio, they will have to start making calculations in terms of tire pressures and changing that on the fly as the pit stops come in. If they're going to change tires, I've done a race on Zolder before, an hour and a half race without changing tires. You do take a bit of a knock at the end of the race, but it is entirely possible to go this whole race with one set of tires.
Yeah, and Stephen, you mentioned it last week. I think the rule is during the pit stop, minimum requirement is to take on 1 liter of fuel. So tires are not required. Am I correct?
That's it. You have to put 1 liter of fuel, 2 Buddy Cokes in your car, all right, to be able to count as a pit stop. But as you brought out, it is possible to go without taking tires, but it is a abrasive circuit. We've got to remember this track is 59 years old. It has not been resurfaced in a little bit. Yeah, in the last 5-6 years it hasn't been resurfaced since they laser scanned it, so it is very abrasive. The curbs are also going to play a big impact, and we talked about it of scoring punctures. This is a circuit that will make it happen. You put a wheel wrong, your tire pressure is slightly off, and it's going to bite. You're going to have a flat. So do you want to run that risk of not putting tires in?
Yeah, and, sorry, Yannaman, maybe you want to just explain to our viewers here what the guys are doing here. You know, you see them accelerating and braking hard. What are the guys up to there?
The whole idea about the acceleration and brake is to get, first of all, temperature into the brakes. The last thing you want to do is on lap 1, brake for turn 1, and there's no brakes. The second thing, by accelerating and braking, you're also putting heat or a heat cycle through the tires to warm up the tires a bit. You know, the tires aren't just warm from the start. You need to make that happen. And as Daniel leads them around the final corner, it's almost time to go.
That's it, lined up 70 k's an hour. Let's see who's going to be first offline. Daniel Rowe lining himself up, getting ready to go. Cody Sherritt poised to attack. Keep an eye on right behind him as Bernard Barkhuizen and Van der Merwe also ready to go. And they're off. Just take a look. Daniel Rowe tucking in on that inside line, forcing Sherritt out wide. Ooh, bit of bump and barge, and both of them losing out. And that has allowed Van der Merwe just to get the absolute run on them. Right past. Kieran Patterson also looking to try and get by as well. So a little bit of bumping and barging has forced him way down the field. Daniel Rowe, though, is losing. Oh, Morgan McCall getting tagged in the rear and losing out more time as well. So definitely not the cleanest of starts, but they are going.
I think it was actually Philip Minor that got tagged. Yeah, that's Philip Minor.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Minard getting tagged. Oh, and there's also a bit of carnage. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars off. That's Justin Lotus. Dean Nokia is off as well. And a little bit further back, it looks like it may be Devin Dalport also part of... No, there isn't. It's Dean Kabasa that was part of that mess as well.
Replay quickly. See if we can see what actually happened. Oh, yeah, that was a bit of a tag there. Oh,
I don't know.
Oy, the stewards are going to be busy.
that was a chain reaction.
Unfortunately, nose to tail, nowhere to go, and all of them losing out substantial time. Now, you know, you wonder how many cars have got damage, whether it's light or a little bit heavy. I think there's going to be a bit of light damage on all the cars, but that's also going to affect the way the car behaves, how it handles, and when you're going to box, because now you just got more and more drag chucked on you as well. Daniel Rowe up into second place after a little bit of a bump and barge, but Bernard Barkhuizen leading out for the first time this season. He's leading out over lap 1.
And it's always a nice feeling to have that clear air or clean track in front of you until you look in your rearview mirrors and then you see a whole field of cars there waiting to pounce on you.
All bearing down, chasing you down, looking to try and figure out where on earth to get past you. You are the target at this point, and where is it going to be? And wow, I mean, that start a little bit chaotic, but the guys are able to keep going, so that's always a good feeling. Cody Sherritt, though, falling way down the field, not what he wanted either. You know, being poised and ready to go for on the attack, and unfortunately dropping a little bit further down and behind his competitors with teammates even further down the field.
Yeah, and on lap 1, I think it was turn 2, Cody got a bit squirming coming out of turn 2, and that allowed Daniel Rowe to take the position back on the inside to gain at least 1 position back from his pole position.
So now a little bit aggressive for the start. Bernard Barkhuizen feeling the pressure. Daniel Rowe chasing him down. Daniel Rowe really doing everything he can in the Porsche, getting in that slipstream into turn 1, just trying to feather the car through and keep it all stuck. Catches right onto the back of Bernard Barkhuizen. Can he go on the outside? Bernard going defensive on the inside, forcing the Porsche just to go out wide. Once again, a little bit of a touch though between them. Rubbing is racing at this point, but you don't want to send your competitor off into the wall. Lifts off, lets him go. But Bernard Barkhuizen really soaking up the pressure at this point from Daniel Rowe. And that's also allowing Cody Sherritt. A little bit of flashing, just saying, how's buddy? I am around. Don't forget about me. I will take that position if you let me, and you can just see how high
aggressively
the Porsche is bouncing.
Yeah.
I think this is going to get interesting very quickly. And from what I can see on the onboard camera, it looks like Daniel's a lot later on the brakes than Barkhuizen, which allows him to close up in the corners.
Pit window is opening.
But losing time when he gets on the straight, he's not early enough on the power. Unfortunately, that's allowing Barkhuizen to pull away.
I think the fact that he's later on the brakes, it's killing his drive out of the corners, and that allows Barkhuizen to pull away. Pit window is open, so let's see how many of the guys that were involved in those incidents earlier on decide to pit now.
That's it. I see a couple of grey dots on our mini-map, and that tells me that a couple of guys have boxed at this point, but you could see running line astern all the cars. And one thing to also keep an eye out, 28 degrees out on the circuit and a little bit warm out there. So running line astern, you getting those brakes nice and hot. You're making sure that the tires are keeping warm, but isn't this going to cause brake fade a little bit later?
I don't know if this race is quite long enough to pick up brake fade. Well, you might if you're running that brake set 1, which I think a lot of them might be running instead of the brake set 2. And that's a very horrible feeling when you start braking and the car doesn't want to slow down.
Yes, that is definitely one that's never fun, never interesting to deal with, but it's going to be interesting as the guys make their way through of what it's going to do. But when we talk about brake fade, I mean, gentlemen, let's take a step through, use a little bit of technical knowledge here. How would you describe brake fade to a person that's just general driving in a car?
The easiest way to explain it is, let's say you pick up muscle memory. You know how hard you're braking for a corner, and you go through that same cycle. You brake with exactly the same strength, and the car just is not slowing down. So by the time you reach the corner, you're still doing way above the speed than what you should be doing for that corner, and that's where out braking, comes in. I've had it in a race this past weekend on Hockenheim, where the car just does not slow down. Luckily I had a bit of runoff area to work with, but accidents happen when cars don't slow down.
Then you got the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen and Daniel Rowe running so close to one another. And I mean, this is you've got to anticipate your opponent's your competitor's braking. You got to anticipate when he's on the throttle to make sure you don't run up the exhaust pipe of him. You're also at this point of tunnel visioning yourself to focus on the car. You're now forgetting about what's around you. You're forgetting the likes of Cody Sherritt's busy chasing you down. At the same time, you're narrowing your vision, and that can be mistakes city at that point. Another thing that can happen is forgetting that you're in a longer race. You start forgetting the strategies. You start zoning everyone out and zoning out your strategy because you're so dead on focused on passing. And that's just like Bernard Barkhuizen at this point. Forget about your mirror. Keep going. Keep putting the space in. It's a longer race. And force your competitor behind to work a lot harder than he wants to.
Yeah, and another factor that will come into this race, I know Zolder, just like Paul Ricard and some of the other tracks, track limits is quite a factor on this track. I mean, the guys, as you saw there, they cutting those chicanes quite aggressively, and it's pretty much on the limit there for getting track limits and those kind of things. So I think track limits later on will definitely play a factor here as well.
That's it. And I mean, track limits 30 seconds stop go, or it's a drive through.
Yeah.
For going and getting track limits, and as a team owner at this point, checking how intense this battle is early on in the race. I know we keep touching onto it, and also now getting into a bit of backmarkers as well as they're closing down on the rest of the field. How do you explain to the guys, calm down, long race, keep focused on what you need to do in this situation? How do you go about approaching these guys without getting your head chomped off because you're not sitting in the car at the moment?
Yeah, I was about to say, I know Daniel Rowe personally, and he's definitely the kind of guy that's going to tell you to, like Max, shut up and let me drive,
Oh, you're rocking.
Yeah, or like Hemians says to you, I know what I'm doing, So yeah, I guess they're experienced, they're professionals, they know what's expected of them. So I don't think there's really a need to really kind of say and coach these guys and trying to tell them how to race their race. At this stage, especially at this early stage of the race. I mean, as we go later into the race, strategy starts coming into play, those kind of things. Yes, obviously there could be instances where it's better to just say to the driver, listen, back off, let it go, finish the race, get your position, whatever don't fight too hard, whatever the case might be. But at this early stage in the race, in my opinion, the race is on, the guys must go for it.
Just send it as hard as you can and try and maximize as much distance. Now you're getting into back markers as well. And these are the guys that were involved in the incidents a little bit further back, had to pit. And a couple of the guys that have decided to get their first pit out of the way. This makes it a little bit more tricky, and also now is going to make it a little bit more difficult in terms of passing. These guys are also in their own race. I mean, take a look at Bullion over here. He's in his own race. He's busy battling as hard as he can, trying to chase guys down. He's trying to chase down the Mauer just ahead of him. He's got Hannes van Wyk right behind him. And then you've got Paul Venter as well in the yellow banana, who's just leading out a charge. You got to try and get past these guys. Where would be the best opportunities to get by this sort of battle?
Yeah, the problem with Zolder is there's no real long straights. I mean, it's one corner after the other. Best places would be, as you look down the pit straight, would be turn 1. Then also before the first chicane. Before the second chicane is also an option. Leading down to the hairpin, and then the last chicane. That would be your main passing areas. But
I kind of always found the hairpin here was, for me personally, was always I want to say a safe overtaking point, because at least there's a bit of a runoff there. If you do, if the guy does miss his brake marker or something, yes, there's a bit of a runoff, even if you have to dodge the guy, maybe diving or something. But a lot of the, like this chicane, I mean, Bertus and myself have gone through there 2x2, so it depends on who you batten, and can you trust the other driver to do those kind of things, right? It's a big factor there.
Yeah, you need some cooperation.
Cooperation, definitely a needed thing, and the drivers have to, believe that the other drivers are going to also take, mind the gap. But sometimes, let's be honest, the rearview mirrors tend to get folded in, and you have to just try and deal with whatever comes afterwards. As we see a couple of the guys running onto the dirt, but just crop dusting, as the Americans call it, out there as they fight their way around the amazing circuit of Zolder. But let's go and chuck in another little bit of fun. The circuit is 4.010 kilometers long. In other words, 2.4 miles long. Got 10 turns, and how many laps? Well, how many kilometers do you think the drivers are going to do around the circuit?
Without using a calculator.
Without using a calculator. Let's see if you pass math.
200.
200.
How long is the circuit, did you say?
It is 4.0. Put away the calculator.
Those using the calculator.
That second ask there tells it everything. But yes, let's go, and we also give it out to you guys in the chat. Let's see who's going to get closer. What will be the total amount of laps completed around the circuit the lead driver will do around the circuit? And if extra points, if you can say how many kilometers that was done. We leave it out to you guys, a little bit of a friendly competition. Call it the chip challenge, if you could say.
The action's heating up as Patterson, and behind him Mccall is going through the traffic. Yeah,
Mccall making up some good ground after the little bit of a battle going on, and it's good to see that he was able to pull himself up. But he's chasing down Kieran Patterson, and Kieran Patterson's going for Funamova at this point. Now KSR Vibe that did very well last round, unfortunately didn't feel the vibe when getting into the pits. Unfortunately scoring a penalty, now feeling the pressure right behind him. But Kieran Patterson at this point just saying to Mccall, come, let's work together. Mccall saying nope, deciding look on the inside, shows his nose, decides not to go and do it, leaps over the curbs and
almost took off there.
Yeah, I don't think the Mercedes suspension's meant to bounce like that unless you put hydraulics in it.
Steve, did you clear him for takeoff?
Not yet. He still needs flight clearance at this point. But maybe if he goes on the left, he should be able to. Got to find the taxiway first. But take a look at that big menacing Merc right behind Kieran Patterson. Kieran braking a little bit later, just trying to get a bit more into the corner early on the power, and leaves Morgan. So Morgan's battling once again with the acceleration on that Merc, and it shows me that the BOP on it hasn't been so favorable this time round.
Might also be effects, and I know it's something that the Merc tends to suffer from a bit, is understeer under acceleration. So I'm not saying it is, but it's from my experience driving this Merc. Sometimes if your setup is not 100% spot on, you need to be a bit tentative coming out of the corner before you can get on the throttle flat out.
You can see hunting down the back of Kieran Patterson. Kieran braking, just lifting, trail braking at this point, trying everything he can to keep Morgan Mccall at bay and staring at Van der Merwe. But once again, Morgan Mccall looks to try get by, decides not to. I think maybe Morgan is pulling out of the toe a little bit too early there. He needs to just follow it through and get a better exit. But Janneman, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's at this stage, anything to do with getting out of the toe too early. I think at this stage he's purely showing intent to Patterson. The famous old thing of I am here, I'm going to intimidate you a bit. Not necessarily going for the pass, but just getting in that rear view mirror a bit.
And I think he's strategically also looking at the fact that there's these slower cars in front of Kieran. So, hopefully he's thinking Kieran will make a mistake as he dives into the pits there.
So I think Robert Mccall went and told Morgan, listen, buddy, get into the pits. Let's go and get our pit stop out the way and get out in some clear air. Try to get away from the traffic. So into the pits as he falls down the grid at this, but a little bit early. But remember, just has to put 1 litre in and can focus on pit stop number 2 being the main one.
Stephen, just an interesting thing, and I might be wrong. From what I saw on screen, it almost looked like, McCall committed quite late to that pit stop. He was starting to turn into the corner and then all of a sudden just decided to go right into the pit lane.
You thinking maybe that got a little bit overzealous and had to change his mind at last minute?
Or
maybe.
Or he forgot that he had to pit and saw the little orange light come on.
The Christmas tree of a dash lighting up at that point.
Or a late strategy change, seeing the traffic.
Well, this is the thing that has me wondering. And Doe, as a strategist yourself, you see that you're in a tight battle, you got a bit of traffic, and you have to try and figure out how to get through. Would this be a rather pit situation? Get out in clear air, or do you think this is a little bit more of a fuel strategy coming into play?
Well, I certainly would have probably done the same as Morgan there. I'm the following car chasing, and I see there's all this traffic in front of the guy I'm chasing. I think I would definitely have thought about also just doing the early pit stop, then hopefully get the undercut. If I can come out in clean air and he's still stuck in traffic, that could be the difference between gaining that position in a way that I don't have to fight for it.
Well, the first person to score the Naughty Hat Award goes to Hannes van Wyk, down in 15th place, scoring a drive-through penalty. And unfortunately, that is going to impact his race negatively. Hopefully, he can try and figure out how to get by. But you can see a little bit of scratches coming up on the cars. And that really tells you of how hard these guys are pushing. And the stones are starting to chip away at the paint.
See also Eric Kirsten from Team Triad Racing there now coming in for his first pit stop on his way. I think he's on his way out. I'm not sure if his grid slot is here in the front. Oh, he's the lucky guy to get the pit right here where the entries to the hospitality suites are.
Maybe decided to go for a. I see there's a Coke sign on the wall. Maybe decided to go and have a drink.
Yeah.
No, that's it. Taste of life, I think was the old advert. Or taste of fun. No, that was Fanta that had that one. But also taking a look at Kube going and completing all his pit stops, so he's got a bit of clear air to try run. Going to be a little bit close to get the car to the end, but maybe he's got it all worked out. But Daniel Rowe, once again, hunting down Barkhazen, looking on the inside, looking on the outside, trying to figure out where can he go to get around Barkhazen, who is just making life so much more difficult at this point.
And they have opened up a bit of a gap to third place Sherritt. Got to wonder is
Barkhazen doing
the
a
way
and Barkhazen doing a phenomenal job here of maintaining his lead.
And you can see Barkhazen just soaking up the pressure at this point as they fight their way around. Daniel Rowe really trying to lean on him, but is not winning at this point. So do you think maybe the frustration now starting to set in Daniel Rowe of what do I need to do to push this guy into a mistake for the engineering vehicle?
Well, I see Daniel is not closing up as much on braking anymore, so starting to wonder are those front tires on that Porsche not so happy anymore?
You think too aggressive on the setup has pushed him into a little bit of a tough time at this point?
I would have loved to see what PSI these guys are running on their front tires. Maybe pushing a bit too hard and he started ballooning those tires a bit, which has forced him to lose some turning on that car. Saying that he's going
some good drive there. That Audi is just great through those two corners.
This really shows the drivers at their finest. You could see a little bit of a battle going on there. One move done though. We got to remember you're only allowed doing one move into the braking zone, which Bernard Barkhazen did. Very late, but he did it, and to stop Daniel Rowe from getting by. But if this doesn't show you how hard the drivers are pushing and how amazing these drivers are in the pro division, and even in the secondary divisions going down, of the time, the effort, and know how hard they can push these cars and know the sim well enough that you can trust the cars to do what you want them to do is amazing.
One of Daniel Rowe's teammates up front there is a back marker. I'm wondering if they're going to use some strategy here to slow things up a little bit after he actually does farming there.
Yeah, Daniel went a bit wide into that final corner, which resulted in him losing some time there. But I'm sure he'll get some assistance as we see him getting assisted passing the BMW, and now he can set his sights on Barkhazen again.
Well, that's it. And just got to say, unfortunately, one of the back markers diving off to the dirt, and I don't think that's going to help his race all too much. But now he's got Cody Sherritt that looks to try and get by. We got to remember Cody is still involved in this battle. He's not too far away. He's 1.9 seconds. He's still staring at them, figuring out when's going to be the right time. It takes one mistake, and we saw this.
And there's the mistake we were talking about.
Yes.
Barkhazen, unfortunately, just going too aggressively over that second hop there, throwing the Audi out. We'll do a bit of a replay there now. So that's him coming up to that side, being chased by Daniel Rowe. Let's see what happens here.
This first chicane can sometimes be a hit or a miss, and in this case it was a miss.
There you go.
Just taking too much curve.
And he was just too lucky not to actually be thrown into a wall there.
Bernard Barkhazen, you're clear for takeoff. Lane 6 at 5,000 feet.
And I think that's what, that's what consistent pressure does in the guys, right? I mean, we speak about this in every race that we, cast on a weekly basis, but it's just putting that consistent pressure on the guy in front of you. GT racing is not Formula One. It's a waiting game sometimes. It's just applying pressure, consistently applying that pressure, and waiting for the guy to make a mistake.
I mean, absolutely. I can't even remember how many passes I made in my life purely by keeping the pressure on the guy in front. As we saw Mccall doing a while back, that just ducking out of the slipstream, showing him you're there, starting to get him to watch his rear view mirrors more than what he's watching the track in front of him.
Another thing we got to also remember, pulling out of a slipstream, you're putting air back on the nose of the car, which wasn't there originally, which you got used to, having no air on the nose. You're busy slipstreaming the whole time. That sudden downforce can also be rather jarring as well. But now one has to wonder, what has Bernard Barkhuizen got on his car? Has he sustained any damage? Has the tires now taken a major hit with that slide that he had, and then trying to get it up and going once again?
Obviously, the tires would have overheated a bit, so it might take him a couple of laps of just taking it a bit easy to bring those tire temps down.
I'm going to actually give us a bit of a replay there as well with the Villiers, and I think it was Mccall or Volstring having a bit of a battle there. Let's go and have a look and see what happened there.
Also good to see a GTR on the track.
The Godzilla has returned, but seems to be having a little bit of a tough time, not able to hunt down. It's a little bit of a helping hand, I think. And bit of contact there.
Well, it didn't seem like Godzilla impressed that BMW quite a lot.
Yeah, that BMW kind of muscled himself through there.
It just brushed him off, move aside.
But Daniel de Villiers having a real tough time, or de Villiers needing to keep it all under check, but once again those tires have taken a hit, and it is going to make life a rather difficult time for him. Sean Skitter though, who's having a bit of fun time in the BMW. Nice to see that the guys coming up with new wacky liveries for the BMW instead of just the plain BMW M Sport colours. And Sean Skitter going and putting on a show, also enjoying his time around the circuit, lying in 20th place, but does have a chance to get into 19th and 18th position, as it doesn't look like the GTR is pulling away from Olschnink and also Skitter as well.
Sean Skitter also eating that curb, and the BMW just telling him, listen, take it easy.
What I wanted to say, the GTR is an interesting car to say the least. It's a car that you need to keep in the rev range to be quick with. It's not like some of the other cars like the BMW, the Merc, where you can let the revs drop to quite low and just accelerate away. It tends to be quite dead in the lower rev range.
I actually drove that GTR for a season in Raceface. Very tricky car to actually get time out of. But really, I would consider it not an easy car to drive, but it is very much a fun car to drive. It's good handling, front engine, it's nice, turns in sharp, big exit oversteer always on it. Right, so you have to do setup to kind of dial that out a bit. But overall, I actually had a pretty decent season in that car. Once you catch the hang of it, like you said, gentlemen, in terms of the rev ranges and things like that.
Now I'm going to score the most unpopular opinion in the world. The GTR, in my opinion, is the second ugliest car ever built in a road version. While we're staring at the beaver teeth.
I thought you was going to say that.
The BMW scoring the name of the beaver teeth, not only by the marketing team came out with it, but the designers went and said one of the inspirations for the front grille was the way of looking like the beaver teeth.
But it's the eager beaver.
It's the eager beaver that should have the designer, set up at the gallows with some unfriendly personnel, I think. It's definitely showing its might here. Morgan McCall, though, looking to go deep on the inside and really braking into the corner and getting a friendly nudge saying, listen, that was a bit overzealous there, and still looking to fight back. Morgan is on a hard charge at the moment, and he's not having a fun time getting around De Villiers, who is pushing him at... Sorry, not De Villiers. It's one of the other BMs. That's Jason McGregor. That's giving him a rough time. So Morgan really feeling the pressure now, and Jason more than happy to just put a huge amount of pressure as they go yeeting over the curbs. I mean, you can't say hitting the curbs, you can't say it's taking flight. It is literally yeet. You play the sound effect every time you go over it. And
Morgan
once
makes
again,
another pass there, but I'm pretty sure that was going to be track limits there. Having to take the track limits to get the pass done. But yeah, that was some aggressive driving there from good driving, but aggressive racing.
It's just simply saying coming through, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's straight lining a chicane, and I don't think that's going to help him at any point. Cabello now feeling the pressure as he got pushed a little bit out the way. You can see a bit of damage, and it looks like McGregor diving into the pits, and that's just allowed Cabello to get away and start trying to catch up to Morgan McCall, who is on a flat-out charge at this point to try to climb back up through the field. Morgan doing his pit stop a little bit earlier, so he's got one stop left and chasing down the Rowe that's just ahead of him. And this is one thing about the circuit, you can't actually pull away from guys too fast. Andrea Serradio saying, this guy is such a hater. Yes, I do not like the Nissan.
Yep, well, you were asking for it, Steve, and you got it. And I think that's not going to be the last one.
No, but Serradio also drives a BM in another series, so there's a reason why I like BMs. Just not this one.
You see Javier Forschking going in there for his pit stop.
Now, Stephen, for all the viewers out there, I want to ask you one question.
Oh boy.
Have you done a fair amount of racing in that BM?
Unfortunately, yes. It drives very, very well, and I'm glad I can't see the nose. But yeah, it's a very, very stable car, and honestly, I would say it's taken the new place of the beginner car, which we've always given to the Aston Martin in Assetto Corsa Competizione. The BM is always a solid choice now. It's no matter the platform, no matter the sims, it's always been this new M4 has definitely improved on that older M6 counterpart, which had problems with braking. It doesn't want to stop. This car does stop. It's a very forgiving vehicle, and that's why I think it's a very loved vehicle. It's because of how forgiving it is. It's welcoming to beginners, and at the same time it's a challenge for masters, because you have to work hard to go fast.
Absolutely. I also think a lot of the Bentley guys, from seasons gone by, have maybe decided to go over to the BMW because of the similar characteristics that it has to the Bentley, but yet smaller and seems to be more nimble than what the Bentley used to be.
That's it, and it's definitely earned its name in the sim racing world for, as you can see, the Fanatec logo on the steering wheel. Fanatec going and actually building the steering wheels for the BMW that you can take out of this GT3 car and put it in your sim. I've seen people actually purchase that steering wheel. I question their sanity of the cost in euros because they don't actually own the car. But yeah, it's definitely earned a place in the sim world's heart, and I think it was one of the big welcomes to the sim racing world is the BMW's M4. As we take a look back up to Kieran Patterson, who is in fourth place with Christopher Radloff chasing him down. Christopher Radloff is a little bit behind though, 12.1 seconds, while Kieran Patterson is onto the back of Van der Merwe, looking for any way to get by. I think at this point, very calm, relaxed at this point, doesn't want to do too much. He wants to just try and get by easily and effectively. But Kieran's also got his family racing in the Pro-Am with Alan Patterson. Must be going and having a chat to him. But Kieran, I know, is in communication with Cody and the rest of his team saying, right, guys, what are we going to have to do to get ahead and stick ahead of these guys?
And while all of this is going on, I see Maforti scored himself a drive-through penalty. So there's another one on the naughty list for you, Stephen.
Well, that's it. And unfortunately, as we know, Zolder's drive-through is not as long as Spa, but definitely not one that you want to go by because everyone just comes past you flat out.
Can you imagine a long pit lane like Indianapolis on a short track like Zolder?
Gosh, I would pull over, go get something to drink, probably think of playing golf, solve the race car.
Do all of that before the pit stop is done.
Oh no, when the pit stop's there, that's when I give the guys the keys and walk away. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as the series is branching out not only to the new circuit like we had at Indianapolis, but going back to the old. Zolder has been on the Raceface GT3 calendar for quite some time. We're going to Silverstone as well. Guys are going back to the old, but we're integrating the newer circuits into it. But I'm sure everyone's got their eyes fixated on Kyalami later this season, and everyone here has done plenty of laps around Kyalami as South Africa, our favorite circuit, and we go like, hey, SA circuit, let's go.
I've done a few, maybe a couple of thousand few. I know in the one race me and you did, we did just over 800 laps. So I think we should know Kyalami by now.
That's it. Bago Krobler going and getting by one of the Hondas, going onto the dirt, and I think that was Volskenig that was dropping onto the curb, unfortunately outbraking himself. And the Hondas just not seem to be on top form, but nice to see the likes of Paul Fenter up in 6th place in the big Boatley. So a bit of a change up there. We saw the Boatley a little bit further down last race, now is enjoying it back at the top. So it makes me wonder that the Boatley's a little bit more suited to the circuit, much like the BMWs, like Ryan Ottens at the moment, who's chasing down De Wet, doing everything he can. But that Hybrid Academy Adrenaline team keeping the toe and pulling himself along. I know Ryan Ottens has been working with his team to try and figure out what's going to be the best pit stop strategy and how they're going to climb their way back up to the top. Also putting on some fantastic photos. The Hybrid Academy team really displaying the cars a little bit more, taking the motivation in their PR side, which is always fantastic to see and always welcomed, much like the PWSR guys have been doing for quite some time.
Yeah, and you were just one thing, Stephen, you were talking earlier on about tracks mixing the old with the new. We've got another new track coming up later in the season, Watkins Glen.
That's it, Watkins Glen, going to be an interesting one, as we're just seeing Ryan Ottens getting a little bit of a bump on the back as he makes his way around, nearly getting turned around. Not what you want to have. As we know, a bit of pressure on the rear tires will make you stare at a wall very, very quickly. But more than happy to move up into 8th place and putting De Wet right behind him. But as you said, Watkins Glen coming out later, once again a track that is fresh to the world of ACC and is testing the drivers to make some interesting setups, as we're going to see later in the season. But while we're looking at this, we're starting to see 41 minutes and 46 seconds to go. Cars are starting to feel the time go by. You can see guys aren't as balanced as they were, as the tires are now starting to fade more and more. And maybe, just maybe, they're starting to think maybe a new set of tires might cost me a bit of time. 30 seconds in the pits and they're able to go. But take a look. As I say that, Paul Fenter, what did you do? I went and spoke so highly of you, and you score a 30-second penalty.
Yeah, that was a commentator's curse. But other interesting thing, we're basically halfway through the race, and if you look at the leaderboard, the top 8 is yet to
Still
make
due
a pit stop.
Still due to make pit stops. I was also going to mention that, gentlemen. I think that is an interesting point that you raised there, because you're saying the top 8, but if you actually take Mccall out of the equation, you're very much looking at the top, 12 drivers almost. As Kieran loses the car there, and this is exactly what you've been just talking about, Stephen, is are they pushing these cars too hard? Let's have a quick relook at that incident there.
And you can hear the exact moment of the OF moment kicking in. And I'm talking about oof. Get your mind out the gutter, folks. It's the oof moment.
Or the pucker effect.
The pucker effect kicking in, and the other effect coming in as well. Hits the curbs unsteady and tries to correct it. Boom, into the wall. Slight aero damage.
Looking at that replay, it almost looked like he lost the car on turn in the first part of the chicane already.
Yeah, it looked like the rear was actually coming around then. Obviously the curb just helped him on. Yeah.
Just a bit of assistance of thanks buddy, you're free to go sort of effect happening, and it's rather unfortunate to see the guys having that moment, but this is what happens at the circuit. One moment of forgetting or just zoning out and losing that concentration can cost you a huge amount of time. Morgan Mccall, though, completed all his pit stops, and he is the first of the bunch.
I think
the first 15.
I think strategically this could be a very good move by Morgan, actually. I mean, he's going to be coming out pretty much clean air now in the race. If you look at the track map where he is, he's got to basically pass this guy, and then it's open track in front of him. So he can really pump in the laps now, and all the guys ahead of him still have to either do 2 or at least 1 pit stop. So I think Morgan is in a good position there.
Sitting in 19th position, and he's completed all his pit stop. That's not a bad place to be.
I would be happy to bet that it's the top 8 here coming for Morgan at least.
But take a look, 38 minutes and 44 seconds. Some of the guys still need 2 pit stops to be done. And you start asking yourself, when are you going to pit? The track is starting to cool down. You got 26 degrees. You got Devin Delport just ahead, who's keeping Morgan McCall at bay. Devin Delport from ZR Racing. And a fun fact about Devin Delport, he is actually a optometrist. And
that's the second optometrist we have here in Pro. Bernsey King, also an optometrist.
That's it. So definitely knows how to get his eyes checked. You're looking to go side by side, and Devin Delport.
What a good move.
Devin Delport, brave to keep going on the outside, but unfortunately gets it locked out by Morgan Mccall. And I know he's got triples on his screens. He's got triple monitors. He can take a look to his door and just see a car coming by. But I would think a lot of if you had to do it, I don't race with triples. I've got a single screen. I'm a pleb, unfortunately. But gentlemen, you race with triples at that situation. What's sort of goes through your mind? Do you look at your third screen, or do you keep staring at the corner ahead?
For speaking, about racing triples, I actually look on the side screens quite a lot. We always say triple screens are not going to make you faster, but they're going to make you a safer driver because your field of view is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, Steve, yes, I look at the sides because that's where the windows and the rear view mirrors are.
Absolutely,
and
I think I agree. I agree with Janneman on that one. I mean, I also only use I've got an ultra wide, but definitely not the field of view of triples. And I do think, in terms of racecraft, I think a triple setup does give you quite a bit of an advantage when you're in those close door-to-door racing situations.
I think it would give me a heart failure situation. As you can see, Devin Delport is really feeling the pressure behind him now from one of the PWSR cars. But you constantly see this car next to you going into a very tight corner, and both drivers aren't looking to give an inch. The pucker effect comes into play. That's all I could talk about. And right there, unfortunately, getting forced off the circuit, and forces one of the BMs off the circuit as he was rejoining. That's a difficult moment. You don't know where to look, unfortunately. As you can see,
There
Delport,
was
Delport's re-entry there was a little bad, if I have to be honest.
Yeah, there was some serious evasive action being taken there, and well done for keeping that BMW under control and bringing it on back on the track so quickly.
yeah, unfortunately, Delport didn't have much option when he got forced off a circuit by one of the PWSR Porsches, but I think that's one of the Porsches looking to try get back to the front of the field as quick as possible. And now, this cost a little bit of time while sitting behind Delport. So a little bit of muscling his way through, I would have to agree. Turn one, you want to give the guy a little bit of an inch, and even though you've got a bit of understeer, you can take your foot off the throttle to try and counter it, maybe. But we don't know what the setups of the cars. What maybe taking your foot off is causing the understeer. If you keep your foot on the gas, it will get a little bit of oversteer. Don't know. We can only speculate here in the commentary booth, and leave it up to the pros out there on the circuit.
I think for the next race, we must ask all these drivers to send us their setup so that we can test them out.
How many times do you want to go into the wall? 'Cause I can guarantee every single car that I drive will be in the wall.
Yeah, but it's for research purposes.
I don't think the manufacturers would like all their cars broken.
Yeah, I know. Me and you race on a tight budget, hey?
Put it, I don't think I can get onto these guys' levels where the setup will be extremely beneficial or be as beneficial, because these guys have put in hours and hours and hours of time. And I mean, gentlemen, you and Doe have spent lots of times on setup, refining little changes, going up by a centimeter, down by a centimeter, moving this by a millimeter, moving that by a millimeter. Just trying to find the right setup for one race. I mean, these guys do hundreds of laps before this single race, and when they come to it, they hope that the setup is what they need to go for that checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely. Setup plays a huge role. And Steve, as you would know, for the viewers out there not knowing, Steve is actually my teammate. We race together quite a lot, and I've spent hours on refining that setup. We race the Mercs on that Mercedes, and purely Steven has a different driving style. So when we put that setup with Steven in the car, it doesn't suit him, purely because the driving style is different. So these setups are totally individual to each driver.
And, that's where a lot of help comes in from the guys that make the setups, like Jordan Sherritt, Go Setups, and even from Speed Labs coming in, just to work on the cars and to set them up for the drivers. They make it a lot more personal. They also show you a better way of going around the circuits. You may have got a unhealthy habit of doing something, or you may be doing you may be fearing the car a little bit, and that coaching does help. And a lot of these drivers that you see out here have been coached or do coach other drivers to get to this level that we see, where they're racing nose to tail with one another for the honors of getting a checkered flag here at Zolder.
No, absolutely. You need that second pair of eyes, because as you mentioned earlier, you might be doing something wrong, and you might not actually know that you're doing something wrong until somebody points it out to you. And that little something can cost you half a second a lap without you even knowing it.
That's it. Or
what a smooth overtake that Daniel Rowe constructed there, but let's see in the Kenya what happens.
Side by side through there again.
Nice racing.
Touring cars, guys, just rub and race, it's fine, don't worry about it. But Daniel Rowe also losing a bit of time like that as they fight their way through. Vandermeer has not given an inch, though, dives up on the inside, forcing Daniel Rowe to try and do a cutback. And beautiful move.
Very good racing.
Yeah. I think both of the guys have lost a lot of time, and that pit exit, oh my heavens, one of the Hybrid Academy cars having to just try and filter his way through, seeing a gaggle of cars all hunting that apex which he's sitting on at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. The pit exit at Zolder is right on the racing line for turn 2. So, you might come through turn 1 and then all of a sudden find a slow car in front of you approaching turn 2.
That's the difficulty, and you've got to take the risk. Daniel Rowe took the risk. Van der Merwe now trying to hunt down and get right onto the back of him. A little bit further down, though, we got Josh Rowe in the McLaren, who's trying to also close down. He's going to be scoring one of his top 10s if he keeps up this pace, but still has 2 pit stops to go. Morgan McCall in a net first place at the moment, with we got Fenter in a net second place as he makes his way around, because he's also completed all his pit stops. So if we start taking a look there, Morgan McCall, Fenter, Barkhuizen, they've all done their pit stops, and then you've got Bego Krobler as well, who's done his pit stops further up through the field. Cody Sherritt, Kieran Patterson, Christopher Radloff, Ryan Ottens, Daniel Rowe, Van der Merwe, Josh Rowe, all of them haven't done their pit stops as yet. They haven't completed it, and then we're down into 29 minutes left of this race, and this is where it starts getting tense. When are they going to do the pit stops? Because like Cody, he's still got 2 stops to go.
I mean, Cody's got a healthy lead there of about 19 seconds ahead of Kieran Patterson. But 19 seconds stop is quite long in this. Even though it's a fairly short pit entry and pit lane, 19 seconds is not enough to have that buffer to come out in front of the guy behind you. So again, 3 laps ago, Morgan McCall was sitting, I think, 19th or 18th. He's down to 11th now. I think he's in a really good position for this race.
That's it. And taking a look at our YouTube comments, JC Krobler is good to see him out there. The Animal also saying go setups. Ashley Wilson also going to say good old punts. Obviously talking about the unfortunate accidents in lap number 1. Devin Ellis going and actually replying to my challenge saying 56 laps. So let's see. We've got a challenge out there, 56
That doesn't
laps.
help me because it's 56 times 4.011, is it?
010.
010. I was a meter out.
So that's what, 424 kilometers. What, 224 kilometers? 224 kilometers more or less.
More or less.
200 wasn't a bad guess.
No.
But take a look at the side of Cabello's Porsche. If that doesn't tell you the race that he's had at this moment, where a bit of touring car actions happen on that right side, it is scratched up. And it shows you how hard these drivers have been really pushing one another. And they're giving each other a millimeter, but nothing more. But unfortunately, the corners tend to tighten up and take away that millimeter.
As we're watching Jonathan Machotsi in the Hybrid Academy Fury car there. Interesting. Jonathan is not only teammates with Daniel Rowe in Hybrid Academy here on Raceface, they're actually teammates in real life as well, in driving as Volkswagen factory drivers, both Daniel and Jonathan.
That's it. And Jonathan Machotsi, well known in the sim racing community, and takes great pride of having the sim racing badge on him while doing what he loves in real motorsport for the VW in the VW Super Cup, I think it's called.
Yeah, Super Cup Series,
Yeah, the Super Cup Series, which races with the VW Polo Cups. They also, so it's the bigger, meaner, faster machine they get to race. And Daniel Rowe was piloting the GTC at one point as well, which was the even bigger version. So it's nice to have these guys. Also, you can't take away, we've got the likes of Christopher Radloff, who currently races in the SA Endurance Series with Colin Ellison in a backdraft roadster. For anyone that doesn't know the word backdraft roadster, it is a custom built car built here in Durban, and it is an amazing machine. And for anyone that wants to go take a look at it, well, you know that picture on the wall of the lovely Cobra, the AC Cobra? Well, the Roadster tends to have a similar appearance to that.
I just wanted to say to you, don't call it an AC Cobra. It's got similar lines.
It's got similar lines, and I'll be a very short phone call away from a good friend. Morgan McCall up into 10th place, now looking to try and move up as well. Jonathan Mokotsi putting a huge amount of pressure as he makes his way around the circuit. We also got Morgan McCall, 9th place now, and is on a hard charge to climb up the front.
I don't know. With 25 minutes to go, you know, Sherritt, Patterson, Ottens, are they leaving those pit stops too late? Because you're going to have to make 2 pit stops in quite quick succession.
It's almost like it's like running 2 drive-throughs now. Towards the end of the race. I don't know if that was the right choice of strategy, to be quite honest.
It might still work out for them. I might be totally wrong, but I'm starting to get that feeling they're leaving it a bit too late.
The beads of sweat may be running down the visors at this point as you start to realize, and the only time you know when a strategy is going to work is when it happens. But you got the likes of Daniel Rowe, who's got 1 stop to go. Van der Merwe has got 1 stop to go. Radloff has got 1 stop to go. J.W. Volskink has got 1 stop to go as they fight their way around the circuit. So they've essentially got to stop, put 1 leader in the car and get going once again, versus 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Which
I honestly think we're going to see a really tight race towards the end.
It's going to be like race 1.
Yep.
It's going to be tighter than Monza chicane at the start of a race, that's for sure. It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. And Mokotsi, what's also giving me an idea here is Mokotsi's got 1 stop to go. He's still pushing, and I'm keeping an eye on him. The same as C4 has also got 1 stop to go. They're a little bit further down the field, but they haven't decided to.
Ryan Ottens did one of his stops now.
Yeah, pulling into the box.
Yeah, it can't be long enough before, you know, Sherritt and Patterson also pulls in, because, you know, we've been at it for an hour. That there can't be too much fuel left in those cars anymore.
Yeah.
Especially the pace that they're going at, putting in those fantastic lap times. It's going to be close. I think the as you said, the fuel light starts to flash. It glows brighter, brighter and brighter. There's only one problem: when it stops glowing, then you just know, well, I've maybe gone a little bit too far.
Yeah, well, that Porsche of Daniel's got a Christmas tree on the dashboard.
So does the Merc.
No. The Merc hasn't got as big one as that Porsche. I mean, that thing lights up proper if you run out of fuel.
Achtung!
It's Cody Sherritt in the Audi, though, still putting in a significant gap at this point. And I wonder if, now that he's got his teammate behind him locking that 2nd place, if they're going to start to try and jump one another, try and frog leap at this point. This is what's nice about having your teammates in the race and right behind you. You can start to figure out what's going to be the best way, the best strategy to maintain 1st and 2nd. Well, Daniel Rowe is sitting a little bit out of water at this point, with his teammates a little bit further behind.
He's going to do another lap. That Audi has to be running on fumes by now.
I think there's going to be a little bit more than just 1 litre put in the car, that's for certain.
Stephen, have you been doing some coaching regarding fuel saving there?
I wish I had this much fuel saving, because I'm trying to figure out how on earth you put in some incredible lap times and still save so much fuel.
Oh, Skitter just scored a drive-through.
I mean, Stephen, obviously, I think the Audi's fuel capacity is like 112 litres in this particular sim. If you fill it up to the top, you probably do about an hour and 5 minutes, I think, depending on the tracks and things like that. I mean, as Janneman pointed out, this track doesn't have high-speed, long straights, that obviously consume a lot of fuel. So maybe an hour and 5 minutes is possible. Cody is going to show us.
But the problem that comes into it is you got to stop twice.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to slow down your car, to 50 kilometers an hour, then come to a stop, then go from 0 back up to your race pace, not once but twice in a small window. And remember, the pit window is only open for the remaining 16 minutes and 50 seconds, and Cody Sherritt once again deciding not to go for it. So I wonder if Kieran Patterson is going to decide to go for it, or will Daniel Rowe, who's put in the fastest time of the race, lying in third place, is going to decide to pit.
Well, with 20 minutes to go, with Sherritt and Patterson not pitting, I think we're starting to reach the point where we can say they're not going to change tires.
Yeah, that would only have to be fuel.
If it's driving on the rim, make sure that you start rounding that rim even further.
I mean, the only philosophy they might live by at this stage, by pushing so late without doing any pit stops, might actually be able to, or might be to see if the tires are going to last the whole race. If they are still happy with their pace at this point, with now less than 20 minutes to go, they're not going to change tires, so it's only going to be fuel to the end of the race.
However, they are a second lap off the pace at the moment from Daniel Rowe.
It's going to be close.
And the Boatley goes flying.
Boatley's clear for takeoff, runway 6.
And it didn't even impress him.
No, that's it. He just straight over it, kept going. Didn't lose a position there, but unfortunately the BM behind him had to take a little bit of evasive action, as we saw this all happen.
And he goes again.
Cody Sherritt deciding not to go in the pits, and I don't know, guys. This is you're trying to open up the gap and get away from the likes of Daniel Rowe and get likes away from Van der Merwe, both having one lap, one pit stop to go. But opening up that amount of space, is it going to be enough to keep them at bay? I don't know. But one person that is still sitting there is Morgan Mccall, as he's closing down the gap to Ryan Ottens. He's 10.6 seconds off Ryan Ottens at this moment. He's in 9th place, but he has completed all his pit stops. So right behind him is a person that started at the sharp end of the field, was running at the sharp end of the field, Bernard Barkhuizen.
Daniel is effectively the net leader at the moment. I mean, he's got a gap of 31 seconds to Cody Sherritt with a one less pit stop. Obviously he still has to be one as well, but I see Daniel Rowe as net leader here at the moment. In my opinion, Sherritt and Patterson probably 5th and 6th.
Still a solid top 10, and that's what you want to do. But take a look, Morgan Mccall actually hounding the back of Kieran Patterson at the moment, and really trying to force a mistake here. So I wonder if Kieran Patterson is taking a look in his mirror, seeing the pace that Morgan's going, and Morgan at this point can just not force it, not force by, but just take it easy. He knows that he's got this little bit of pace to him. As he looks to go by, looks to block out that outside line, and if Kieran Patterson was aiming to go for the pit stop,
he's feeling those tires, eh?
Yeah, I think those tires are gone.
Dearly beloved, we gathered here today to maul the likes of these Pirellis.
The Pirelli is no more. I mean, Doe mentioned it. If Sherritt is losing a second a lap to the likes of the front runners, then the tires are gone. So it's asking the question again: was it the right choice to leave it this late? 17 minutes to go, and you still need to make both your pit stops.
In my opinion, I think they've left. It's basically 2 drive-throughs that they've got to do in the last 10 minutes of this race.
That's it. It's going to be a difficult one, and it's going to be a tall order at this point. Last 15 minutes is going to be interesting, Andre. I think we're going to see some proper close racing, a sprint to the line, as we now hit 6 p.m. and that sun is starting to come down a little bit more. They're starting to get that solar flare, and one thing that was brought out quite some time ago, ACC has beautiful graphics, but some odd reason they got that sun just right that you can see nothing out that windscreen.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing when that sun, is hitting you smack bang in the face, and you need to revert your knowledge of the track to know where to go.
Yeah, back to muscle memory. So
Yes,
let's see how that's going to go.
PWSR takes another lap to go, both of them.
It's going to be close, but Daniel Rowe is pushing to see what he can do. So it will be interesting to see what sort of times is Daniel Rowe doing at the moment. You have a bit of a
He's doing 128s there at the moment, 128.4s, and Sherritt is doing 129.6s. So he's taking about a second a lap out of him now at this point in time.
Oh, and it looks like Delport gone farming with the Aston Martin, parking it off on the side, and I think that's once again those curbs deciding that he's clear for takeoff, but then saying, "No, you're grounded, buddy. Just park here for a little bit."
Or just admiring the sunset.
So as we take a look to the replay, you can see leaping over the curbs, and unfortunately the second curb just sending off into the dirt. Moving off the circuit, goes towards the dirt to try and get a better rejoin. Unfortunately spins those tires up a bit too much. Waits, checking his mirrors, checking the relative, and rejoining the track safely. So well done to him on that. That's a safer return. A lot of drivers will try and just get back onto the circuit as quick as possible, but you got to bear that in mind. You've made the mistake. You have to slow it down. Kieran Patterson into the pits now. So PWSR team have decided to try and frog leap, maybe to keep Daniel Rowe at bay. Daniel Rowe, though, 28 seconds behind. Can he close down this gap?
He's already 14 seconds behind. So he's gonna pass Patterson in the next 10 seconds.
And then Patterson still needs to make another pit stop.
Yep.
It's going to be a rough one. I think a bitter pill to swallow for the PWSR team, but maybe, just maybe, they can pull the rabbit out of the hat here and hold the positions. It's going to be close, up and down. There's a little bit of fuel that's gone in, just enough to make the light turn off. 150, don't stress. Oil and water, don't worry about
Daniel
it.
Rowe's gone off. He's gone off.
I just saw him rejoining, yes.
Let's go and have a look at that as well. Oi, bit of a tank snap going through there.
Porsche snap oversteer.
Well controlled though. Well controlled.
Yeah, I mean that snap oversteer. As soon as that car bites, it on that occasion it was just exit track left.
It reminds me of the old Pink Panther.
Sherritt also in the pits.
Now Sherritt now in the pits. 45 laps completed. Daniel Rowe has lost a bit of time with that. Now has to try and close down. Is it going to be enough to close down on the likes of Sherritt? As we take a look on our map, it's a bit far back, I think, to make this stick. I think that has cost him, that little excursion has cost him valuable time, as Sherritt looks to get out the pits and start accelerating as fast as he can. Daniel Rowe is only onto the main straight now, but can he do it? Can he just close right onto the back of Sherritt? It's going to be very close, but Sherritt just able to get out, but Daniel Rowe is not far behind, chasing him down, both with only one stop left to go.
And Sherritt with a Hybrid Academy car in front of him. I believe that would be Bago, possibly Robler.
So Bago in 11th, giving him a bit of a tow as they make their way around the circuit. And this is rather handy. Try and use the slipstream, pull yourself along and get away from Daniel Rowe. As we saw in that last shot, he was just lurking around. So Daniel Rowe is not out of the lead just as yet. It's going to work on to who's going to make that last pit stop count at this point.
Yeah, pity Daniel had to lose it there out of talk approaching turn 2.
That would have
I think that
right
might have
back,
cost him the lead.
Yeah. Because that's about a 6 or 7 second mistake that was made there. So that would have put him either right on the back of Spirit or in
And again, Sherritt pitting again.
It's the second pit stop.
So he basically did 1 or 2 laps and then back in the pits again.
So it's
Rowe going past him now.
So now Daniel Rowe has to try and
Push,
leg
push,
it
push.
and put as much of a gap between himself and the likes of Sherritt and Patterson, who are currently second and third. Means Sherritt is going to have that pit stop done and dusted, which will put him net first at this point. Unfortunately, Morgan McCall has not been able to close down on Ryan Ottens fast enough to try and take advantage of the pit stops.
And
But
as we look at
Kieran
this now,
Patterson-
so Daniel now is holding a lead of about... I'm trying to just see the 2 leader sections here now. 37 seconds. So there's a gap of 38 seconds now between Sherritt and Rowe.
And I'm pretty sure this last pit stop of Daniel's going to be just a splash and dash with 10 minutes to go.
He's not going to ask for the windscreen to be sorted out.
Nope, that's
for the
optional.
oil. Yeah, none of that. It's the
Oil, what oil? It's a Porsche. You can drive without oil.
bare minimum at this point. As they make our way through, going to be heading into Jackie Xbox or
That
Xbox
one,
as
yeah.
you said. And let's see, will he decide to go in the pits? No, decides to keep it out. He's hoping to just go and open that gap a little bit more. Kieran Patterson, though, into second place. Van der Merwe in third place. J.W. Forsching in fourth. Christopher Radloff in fifth. Sherritt in sixth place. Ryan Ottens in seventh. Morgan McCall up into eighth place. Josh Rue in ninth. And Bernard Barkhuizen in 10th place. Rounding out that top 10. And, well, first to fifth still need to do one more pit stop.
I think it's going to be who's going to be first to blink here. To be quite honest, because Patterson 15 seconds behind. Van der Merwe a further second there, and then obviously Volkskrink and Radloff them are a little bit further down. But definitely the top 3 drivers, it's going to be about who's first to blink here.
This is it. So don't look away, ladies and gentlemen. This is the race you want to watch at the moment. Anything goes as they battle their way around the circuit, trying to figure out who has got the best strategy. How is this going to work? But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna have to say I think Cody's going to get first. Kieran, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold second place.
My prediction is not to make any predictions at this stage because it has bitten me before.
We can put a small wager there between ourselves if we want to.
I tend to lose.
Not a gambling man.
No.
Not a betting man. Not a betting man. The lotto hasn't been favourable. As we saw the likes of Van der Merwe diving into the pits, he was chasing right behind
He's the
Kieran
first one
Patterson.
in.
So will he have enough of a gap to hold his position, keep ahead of Christopher Radloff, or will he lose out that position, knowing that Sherritt is also closing down on him? So now to see if Van der Merwe can feel the vibe as Cody Sherritt comes flying by.
It's going to be an eventful final 7 minutes of this race.
3 minutes left. They would pretty much have to pit in the next lap.
You can be sure that the hands are sweating, the knees are shaking. There is no mom spaghetti at this point, as Daniel Rowe is in first place, Kieran Patterson chasing him down, J.W. Volksking, who is also on a hard charge. He's got his viewers busy coaching him on and trying to say, go, 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 mate. Christopher Radloff also doing everything he can to try and step up his game here in the sim racing world. Been doing very, very, very well and is hoping for a top 5 finish at this point, but it's going to be close.
And Daniel's going absolutely flat out. I had a look at him now. He's using every single millimeter of that track to try and, eke out as much pace out of that Porsche as possible.
He is exploring end to end.
Yes, you know, he's making his entry fee count, so to speak.
Well, Kieran Patterson in the pits, JW Volksking also in the pits, Daniel Rowe not pitted as yet. Has this bitten him? Christopher Radloff in the pits, so Daniel Rowe is the sole competitor who has not pitted as yet. He needs to try and do everything he can. He needs to pit this lap. That's it. Game over. There's no trying to run that extra lap. Otherwise, you suffer a extremely harsh penalty, and we'll see you dropping down into 20th position in a blink of an eye.
He's gonna have to pit one. And let's have a look at Cody Sherritt, 42 seconds down the track.
I don't
Waiting anticipation.
Right, as he enters, let's see where Sherritt is today.
I think Daniel Rowe went into the pit there. We saw him turning in very, very...
He went in hard there. I just wanted to mention that.
He utilised everything and went in at about 200 k's an hour before standing on the brakes. But now, here comes the wait.
Slash and
As
dash.
we wait,
Why is that pit stop so long?
up, down, there we go. Looked like the
18
box
seconds,
was a bit of a
17
struggle.
seconds.
Oh, that pit board is just a little bit too far. Is it going to be enough?
Don't get off the button too early.
Oh my gosh, this is stressful. I don't know about you guys, but I'm currently not sitting at my seat. I definitely need the Zol monitors to
They're
check
going to meet
heartbeat.
at turn 2. Daniel got a lucky break with
And
those two BMW.
he's got two hybrid academy cars between him and Sherritt.
Pit window is now closed.
What a finish to this race.
I don't think it's over yet. Just guys, Cody Sherritt still has a chance here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we talk about team orders being a difficult thing, but there's also a consensus. There's respect amongst the drivers of guys. Let them fight.
Yeah.
And
As
as
you
a
can see
back
there,
marker, as a
gets
back
right
marker,
off
you
the
have
racing
to
line.
let them go.
Yeah.
This is close. This is one of the closest, and it's going to be down to the last, I would say, 2.5 laps at this point as they fight their way through. Sherritt doing everything he can, flashing the light, saying, please move at this point. Please, please, please. I think it's not even hands and knees at this point, not even giving an option for the BM as he flies by, as he could see Daniel Rowe just ahead of him. And Daniel Rowe needs to clear past his back markers extremely quickly, otherwise he's going to lose out. It looks like LaRue in the McLaren lying in 15th place, not giving an option of where to go. He's going to have to stay very wide through turn 1. Decides no, he's not going to give the gap, and Daniel Rowe is going to have to slug it out, losing a lot of time, just getting by, and that McLaren getting out of the way of the huge battle that's going on. Any mistakes now will cause him to fall down. I think PWSR have definitely timed this to the absolute wire, but unfortunately Daniel Rowe just had just enough pace to keep that car ahead as he rockets off the curbs, trying everything. Now they're getting into, it looks like, one of the cars that have fallen off the circuit. The yellow flag's ablaze. You have to be aware of it. That's Delport that's off and rejoining right by Daniel Rowe. But who stopped? That's Rayner. Rayner
I believe that's out of fuel, possibly.
Oops.
It's strange that he's remaining on track though.
I think if you go inside that car, you can hear it really not gonna happen at that point. Is not gonna no, and definitely going there. Daniel Rowe surviving one more lap. Can he carry it through? Sherritt 1.3 seconds behind. Cody at this point has got silence as he chases down Kieran Patterson, lying in third place. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. But he's got Van der Merwe right on the back of him as well. So Kieran Patterson might lose out that third place if he doesn't take a more aggressive drive, because Van der Merwe is right on the back of him. You can see no space to go. So Van der
Morgan
Merwe,
Mccall lurking there in fifth.
oh man, it is close. First and second close, third, fourth, and fifth, all open cards. You cannot say who's going to finish where, as we got 45 seconds of this race. Morgan Mccall utilizing a toe and trying to close down on the likes of Van der Merwe. Goes out wide, a little bit of understeer there. You can see just really doing everything he can. Our chopper camera really working hard to try and keep this battle on, and you can see Morgan just flying off those curbs. Van der Merwe closing down on the backs of Kieran Patterson. I mean, this is nail biting, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing. This is 0.2 of a second, and I think all of them going and cutting that curb. There's nothing about it at this point. It's, if you got a track limit, man, just use it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to say now. I mean, if you got track limits in the bag, use them.
Coming up to the line, Daniel Rowe getting that white flag. There's the checkered first place with Cody Sherritt. Right behind him, Kieran Patterson, not out of the woodwork just as yet. He's got one more corner to keep it all together, but managing to lock out that third position. Van der Merwe in fourth, Morgan Mccall in fifth, J.W. Volschking in sixth, Christopher Radloff down into seventh place. Eighth place is Bernard Barkhuizen. Bago Krobler in ninth place at the moment, and Ryan Ottens in 10th place, with this all carrying on. What a race, guys. Mind blown. I don't know about you. Sitting on the edge of my seat, I think I've got fingernails through my chair. Definitely going to need to get a new one before the next race. Wow. Doe, thoughts on that?
I thought it was a phenomenal race towards the end. I mean, we had a bit of a slump in the middle of this. But, after those first, I would say the second pit stop started happening, things really got interesting with regards to strategy. So I really enjoyed the last, I would say, 30, 40 minutes of this race. Epic.
And Janneman, your thoughts there?
Well, that ended quickly. I honestly thought they might get another lap in. I was sitting at the edge of my seat. Yeah, that it was nail biting stuff. Well done to Daniel Rowe, coming back with a bang. We will never know if leaving the pit stops so late, for the likes of Sherritt and so forth, did it cost them the win? Is that where they lost that one or two crucial seconds? I mean, Daniel had an awesome drive, even with the mistakes he made. Or the mistake he made, still managed to bring home the win.
That's it, and what a race. Also 53 laps completed, so 3 off Devon's choice there. Devon said 56, we did 53, so they did
200 kilometers.
217.3 kilometers around this magnificent circuit. And also just taking a look at the Pro-Am side, it looks like we've got PWSR is going to be having a party as well, because Alan Patterson taking first place of the Pro-Am. So PWSR are definitely going to be happy with second and third of the Pro and first of the Pro-Am. But Daniel Rowe taking this round in the Porsche and really putting in a fantastic effort. So what a race.
Well done to Alan, but does that make him the fastest commentator on ACC now?
Yeah, I think so. well spotted, and well done to Alan there. Right, gents. Yeah, that basically concludes this evening's race. It was I thought it was really good racing tonight. Exciting, pretty clean racing as well. I mean, we had a bit of a bash up there at the beginning of the race, which was unfortunate. But outside of that, pretty clean, good racing. I mean, it was tight but respectful. And really exciting towards the end. And yeah, Stephen, Janneman, thank you again for joining us here in the commentary.
Always good to be here.
Absolutely amazing. I can't wait for the next round, because if we think that the championship is slowing down, you'd be completely wrong as the drivers look for round number 4. And whoa, hold on, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, join the Raceface Discord because you do not want to miss this.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen. Everybody, see you guys next week, Thursday. Same place, same time. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.